StraightallDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are on part 2 of our ongoing mini series here, which is artificial intelligence, also known as AI, is your employee, not your boss. If you didn't hear the intro to this series and thusly you missed the explanation of why I'm talking about this and what specifically led to me laying out what I'm laying out here, then go back and listen to yesterday's masterclass if you did not catch it. Without further ado, then we are going to pick up right where we left off, which is on point number 4 of this series. 1 through 3 was in yesterday's episode. Number 4, when you are using artificial intelligence, understand something. Please absorb and burn this onto your brain. You are still required to think, interpret, discern, and decide what to do after receiving feedback from your team, i.e. your artificial intelligence. And I'm analogizing that to a team. So if you had a staff of people working for you and you have a tough decision that needs to be made, you can take feedback from as many people in the room or as many people on the team as you wish. You can ask them for what they think. You can weigh everybody's opinions. You can brainstorm to get everyone's feedback on what could, should, or maybe might be done. But ultimately, because you are the boss, and only because you are the boss, the ultimate decision still must be made by you. That's the way it works. When you are the ultimate decision maker, you have to make the ultimate decision. So one of the responsibilities of being a boss, folks, is final decisions are made by you. And decision comes from the Latin word decidere, which means to cut off. Decidere, which means to cut off every other possibility. That's what a decision is. And if everyone wanted that responsibility, then everyone would be in charge. Everybody's not in charge because most people do not want to have to live with the responsibility of being the person who makes that final decision. That's why they are willing to get behind you, and you got to be willing to do it. So do not abdicate this responsibility. When you need a team, business, family, or other organization, when you lead, a team, business, family, or other organization, and things go wrong, you cannot point your finger at your administrative assistant, your support staff, your maintenance, your anybody else on the team as a way of spreading out blame for the failure, because you're the boss and you're the ultimate decision maker, which means responsibility for what happens falls on your shoulders at all times, whether it's something that you wanted or something that you didn't want. All right, so you should look at artificial intelligence as the help. You know, I think it was the movie Scarface, when a woman said, you are the help. She told Tony Montana that he was the help. Now you got to look at artificial intelligence as the help. All right, they are the help, and help is good. Now, help is not a bad thing. If you have a business, the bigger your business is and the more moving pieces you have in the business, you probably want to have some help. And understand, I'm not saying that the help, even if the help is an actual human, doesn't mean that the human is less than human. Doesn't mean that they aren't who they are. Doesn't mean they don't bring value to the table. But ultimately, they are the help, and the help is there to support the boss. There is the boss and there's the help. So if you're the help, your job is to help the boss. But the boss ultimately gets to make the final call. That's the reason why, again, the boss is the boss. That's the reason why the boss gets paid the big bucks, because they are making the final decision. You, as a user of artificial intelligence is your help. It can give you whatever information you ask for. It can provide support. It can even help steer you towards certain decisions on certain subjects, depending on how and for what reason you are using it. And ultimately, any decision that you make, you must live with, because you are the ultimate decision maker. So you can't go do something stupid out in the world, have a negative consequence come directly to your front door, and then tell the consequence, hey, artificial intelligence told me to do it. All right, Chat GPT told me to do it. The AI in my Gmail inbox told me that this is what I should say. You still are responsible for taking the advice. If someone offers you advice and ends up being bad advice, you're still the one responsible for accepting the advice. You're responsible, because who chose to ask that person for advice? You did. Who chose to listen to that person? You did. Who chose to execute on the advice? You did. You are ultimately responsible for everything in the end, when it just in life in general. And I know who my audience is. I'm talking to a bunch of people who are in leadership positions, want to be in leadership positions. You want to have full control over what's happening in your life. One of the trade-offs of having full control and one of the trade-offs of being a leader is that you are responsible for everything that happens, even if it is not necessarily your fault, even if someone else advised you to do it, even if you may later on realize, damn, that was a bad idea for me to take that advice, or at least you're taking ownership. All right, you are still responsible, okay? As soon as you start treating the help as if it is the boss, you become the help. The problem with becoming the help when you're the boss, but thinking that you're the help or acting as if you're the help, is that you're still responsible even though you're acting as if you're the help. And the help, again, one of the reasons why the help is because the help doesn't want the responsibility of full decision making. So you have to ask yourself, do I want to be a boss or do I want to be the help? Point number 5. Today's topic, once again, is artificial intelligence is your employee. It is not your boss. Number 5, many people falsely believe that the emergence of AI means that you will not have to think as much or do as much because the AI will be doing the work for you. This is somewhat true with an asterisk, meaning it is somewhat true in certain cases, and it is completely untrue and a completely useless way of thinking in other cases. Our artificial intelligence will make jobs easier for you, again, depending on what kind of job you're doing. If you want AI to, for example, I wanted AI to expand on a concept that I came up with. I fed it the entire concept and said, come up with X number of words on this subject. And I gave it all the context and the frame and the direction in which I wanted to go. And it was able to do it for me. And that way it shortened my work because I didn't have to sit there and write it all out myself. And AI usually writes in accurate prose. So there's not misspellings, wrong forms of words used, et cetera, et cetera. It's usually pretty good at doing that. So that saves me some work. It does do some work for me. At the same time, do not fall into the false belief that you don't still have to think, because artificial intelligence is still, just as it says, artificial. It's not real intelligence. Real intelligence requires the ability to reason, requires the ability to parse information, requires the ability to look at different pieces of things that are all factual and all true and decide which pieces of facts and which pieces of truth are necessary and useful in your specific context and for what specific reason. Artificial intelligence is not quite good with constantly changing parameters and constantly changing circumstances. I was looking just the other day I was asking a chatbot, I believe it was Chat GPT, about how long before there will be construction sites handled completely by robots and no human beings. And it said it's still going to take a while because robots, as currently constructed and with the knowledge that we currently have, robots are not good working with constantly changing situations where things are not always the same day by day. Robots are good with rote tasks, do the same thing over and over again. Welcome to McDonald's, may I take your order, for example, is a rote task. There's only so many different things that you could possibly be asked to do when you're working the counter at McDonald's, which is why people working the counter at McDonald's is soon to not be a thing anymore, because the rote task of doing the same stuff over and over again is going away. However, if you look at a space like construction, when you are literally building on a construction site, the terrain is not always the same. Sometimes the land is even on this spot, but it's not even over there. Sometimes things change in the environment. Once you start digging underground, you find things that you didn't know were there. There are slight shifts that happen in the structure when you're putting it together. Only human beings are able to figure that out and think on their feet as to how to do that. And also, robots are usually good at doing a specific task over and over again. They're not good at knowing how to do 7 or 8 or 9 different tasks like a human being can, which is why I've already explained to all of you that as a human being, you need to expand your skill set to where you are not easily replaced by a robot. A robot can replace anyone that is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If that's all you're good at, you're about to be replaced, or you're probably already replaced. But if you have multiple skills and you can find a way to make those skills symbiotic, in other words, your ability to do this feeds your ability to do that, which helps your ability to do the third thing and helps your ability to do the fourth thing, because they all work together, that makes you less replaceable by a robot, at least as where we stand today. But I'm saying all this, again, this is still part of point number 5. The emergence of artificial intelligence does not mean that you stop thinking, at least not if you want to remain valuable, nor does it mean that you do less. It means you'll be doing different, but it doesn't mean that you're doing less. So in some aspects, as I already explained, if you want AI to take a 300-word article you wrote and say, hey, use this context and this context and this story and expand this article from 300 words to 500 words, it's pretty good at that, generally. It does make you easier to do things when you're the boss, but staying the boss. It does not replace you as the boss, nor does it remove the need for you to do certain work that must be done by you. When you're a boss in an organization, you need to know what tasks must be done by me and what tasks could I possibly outsource to something or someone outside of myself. You need to know the answer to this question. There's a reason why the smartphone, ladies and gentlemen, is called a smartphone, because the phone itself is very smart. And the more we use smartphones, the more data we're sending back to the companies who make smartphones, and therefore they can make the phone smarter and smarter and smarter, because it's learning more about what we want, what we do, what we think, what we say, the behaviors that we take, the actions that we take to respond to certain other things happening. So the phone is getting smarter and smarter, on top of the fact that, unlike human beings, phones tend to not forget things that they have been programmed to know. People, on the other hand, the more we use smartphones and the less we engage our own thinking because of the use of the smartphone. So when I say the more we use smartphones, I mean the more that we use smartphones to do our thinking for us, to be clear. The more we allow smartphones to do our thinking for us, and subsequently the less thinking we do on our own, the stupider we become while the phone gets smarter. And if you think about the long game of this, what happens is the phone is so smart and the person is so stupid that the phones are now bossing around the people rather than the people bossing around the phone. Now, if you think about this, how many of you, either you yourself, if you want to admit it, or you know someone who seems to be bossed around by whatever their phone is showing them rather than them bossing the phone around itself? How many of you know someone who fits that description? All of you probably either know someone or has seen someone fitting that description. All of us probably at some point or another, hopefully not all day, every day, has found ourselves kind of doing what the phone was telling us to do rather than what we were supposed to be doing in the moment. Anyone ever had that happen? I'm sure most of you have. So when you stop using your ability to think, the phone starts running you. And phones are run off of what is generally artificial intelligence. That's pretty much what they are. Smartphones are run off artificial intelligence. Now, the artificial intelligence is getting better and better and better, but that's generally how they work even from the beginning. So intelligence, ladies and gentlemen, just intelligence, not artificial intelligence, but just regular intelligence, is not about what you can type into a keyboard on a search engine. A piece of it is in that looking for the right thing and typing the right thing into a search engine can help you get better result than typing in the wrong thing. But intelligence is really about your ability to acquire, interpret, and implement information that you find. Let me say that again. Intelligence is about your ability to acquire, interpret, and implement information that you find. So no matter how much information you get from chat GPT or any AI resource, you still have to interpret what it's telling you, even though the AI tries to do its best to interpret the information for you so you don't have to. I would suggest you still learn how to interpret information so you don't become stupid and AI doesn't become your boss. You got to interpret the information because sometimes AI also will give you inaccurate information. I was asking it something the other week, and it was saying this person it was giving me a list of people, and it was saying these people are all black. And I was looking at the list, and there was a person listed on there. I know this person's not black. I said, this person's not black. And it said, oh yeah, you're right, Dre, sorry about that. It's literally what it said. So interpreting information does not mean just accepting at face value anything the AI tells you, because sometimes it will tell you some inaccurate shit. And if you're not thinking, because you turn your brain off because the smartphone's doing all the thinking for you, no one will catch the error, the obvious error. And because you're not thinking at all, you missed it. And it's not like you got to be super smart to have caught it. It just got to be you paying attention. As long as you're paying attention, you can catch the bullshit that AI might throw at you every now and then. I catch it every now and then throwing some bullshit at me. And you got to be able to catch it. If you don't catch it, then again, you're going to start thinking that whatever it tells you must be true, which is not the case. And remember where the AI gets its information from. The internet. What's on the internet? A bunch of shit that people said. Is everything that people say true? No. Okay, be careful. Don't be stupid. So intelligence, again, is your ability to acquire, interpret, and implement information. Just because you have access to information doesn't mean you're doing anything with it. How many of you have information that you know you're supposed to be implementing right now and you ain't doing it? Exactly. I know a lot of people. I know human nature. Just because you have information does not mean you have implemented the information. And the true display of intelligence is the implementation of what you know, not just the possession of what you know. A lot of people think possessing information makes them intelligent, i.e., I went to college, i.e., I have a degree, i.e., I have a certification. Those things do not prove intelligence. They prove that you have the ability to regurgitate material that was given to you. That's all school is. They give you material, you regurgitate it, you pass the test, you get a degree. That's what school is. Everybody here has a degree. If I got that wrong, tell me. That's pretty much how it works. I have a degree. That's how it works. To show true intelligence, however, you got to take the knowledge that you allegedly possess, and you have to turn it into something tangible through your actions. That's implementation. So your ability to recite and regurgitate what you were told is not intelligence. That's, well, what it is memorization. No, memory is good. Right? There are people out there whose entire business is based around memory. They teach people how to be better with memory. Where that is marketably applicable, ask them. I don't know. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about implementation. That's where you really show it. Point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is AI is your employee. It is not your boss. Number 6. If you put yourself in a position where AI can work completely independent of you, then in that space, you become effectively unnecessary. Now, here's the question. Could you survive in that area in which you want AI to take over? That's the only question. Could you survive? If AI took over, could you survive and still be useful and still be worth money and still, be necessary? Would your physical presence still be necessary in some marketplace if AI was able to replace you in a certain aspect? And it's okay if the answer is yes, because there are some aspects where I want AI to completely replace me. There are certain tasks and processes that happen in my business that I would love for artificial intelligence to do completely, to where a human does not need to do it, or at least, let's say if AI can do half of it, and artificial intelligence, AI can do half of it and a human only has to do the other half, and that cuts down on the amount of time that a human needs to work on a certain task. Amazing, beautiful. Thank you, AI. Please do more. For example, let me give you an example of things where AI could completely replace me. A place where AI, and it was actually just on the tip of my tongue. Oh, here it is. It's transcription. I don't like doing transcription, but transcription is necessary. For those of you who don't know what transcription is, it would be like taking the audio from this episode that you're listening to right now and getting every single word that I said written down on a piece of paper. That's called a transcript. So something that somebody says out loud, you write it down, that becomes a transcript. And AI is very good at transcription. So as long as you have clear audio, AI is pretty good at basically damn near word for word. It can get written on paper what you said on audio. So I can take every episode of this show, plug it into AI software, and it will create a textual document with every word that I've said. As a matter of fact, we're in the process of doing that right now. I just have so many minutes of audio that I've recorded that we can't do it all at the same time, because you only get so many minutes per month or whatever you pay for per package. So we're in the process of doing this, but I have a good amount. I would say as of today, I'm thinking of how many episodes we have. I have about close to 20% of all the episodes just of this show. I'm not talking about everything I've ever put out, but just of this show, 20% of the material that I've recorded all time has been transcribed into text. Now, why does that matter? What do I do with the text? The reason why the text matters is because AI is much better at dealing with and manipulating text than it is dealing with and manipulating video or audio. Is not quite caught up to video or audio yet. Text is the original form of passed down communication anyway. So if you can get everything into textual format, that's much better than audio or video. And again, transcription is usually very easy these days. A lot of software services will give it to you pretty much for free. So anyway, I'm okay with AI replacing my ability to transcribe. As a matter of fact, I have no ability. That's not true. I have no professional skill at transcription. Let's put it that way. I've never charged anybody for a transcription. I've never done it. I have no intention of doing it. And I do have the skill of transcription. I could easily listen to, right now I'm at about 18 minutes into this episode. I could easily just listen to this whole 18 minutes and write down every single word that I said, but it would be excruciating. It would be very boring. I'd probably fall asleep at the keyboard, and this is very tedious work. It's not for me. I'm happy with AI completely replacing me in this space because I'm still marketable, useful, and valuable in the marketplace without needing to have this ability, without needing to use, rather, this ability. I've always had it. I don't need to use it. So in that case, full speed ahead for me when it comes to this specific skill. But if there's other things that AI could completely replace me and I'm no longer useful, that's not quite a good thing for me. If AI could do my push-ups for me and lift weights for me, then I don't need to go to the gym. I don't think that's a good thing for me. I actually want to go to the gym. So I don't want AI replacing me going to the gym. So if you could be replaced by AI and not still be valuable, you either need to A, learn new skills so that you will still be valuable because AI is replacing that old skill, or B, learn how to harness AI to make you even more valuable at the thing that you do rather than allowing it to replace you. For example, when I tell you about my Dre GPT chatbot, which by the time you hear this, we are probably offering that as a paid product. I already am in the process of working on it on the day that I'm recording this, but by the time you hear it, we probably already have made the shift. But when I tell you about that, Dre GPT is offering a way for you to get answers from me without having to search through all the content I've ever created, or having to send me a message and hope that I respond back to you, which I might not, depending on who you are and your level of access to me. I might not be able to respond back, or I just might not respond at all. Instead of you having to do all that, you can go straight to the chatbot and it can help you out with answers that are based on my speech patterns and the way that I talk and what I've trained it on. That's a good thing. So that makes me more valuable because you're getting access to me without directly having to deal with me, and you know there's a bot. It's not like I'm lying to you. So if you take the orders for customers at Wendy's and AI can do that now, again, why would Wendy's need to keep paying you? That's the question you need to answer. All right, and pretty soon, first of all, they don't need to pay you, and pretty soon they're not going to pay you. That's what it is. Now, for any of you looking to have AI replace certain jobs in your work, that's great as long as you are still somehow necessary. And remember, you are controlling it, not it controlling you. Because when you own a system or you have a proprietary process, or you can offer more value in some aspect aside from what the AI is doing, excellent. That makes you better and stronger. Further, even if you are not doing it intentionally, if AI can do the things that you are currently doing and it could replace you, then at some point you're going to get replaced by somebody else who notices it before you notice it. The skill today is not trying to race against AI. That's a waste of, don't do that. Don't try to race against AI. You should learn how to harness AI so that you can use it to your best advantage and do what you're doing even better than how you're doing it. I'm giving you some examples right here. So my Dre GPT chatbot is an example of utilizing AI in ways that make what I offer even better, because now you can go through the stuff that not go through, but you can learn from stuff that I've said without having to parse through everything I've ever put out and trying to find it. And either you'll be successful or you won't. The reason I actually became an entrepreneur, the first product I ever created was a training program for basketball players, which was based on a lot of players saying to me, Dre, I want to learn from your training, but you have so many videos, I don't know where to begin. My answer to that would have been, I guess these days it would have been a chat GPT basketball bot. But now, back then, what the answer was me creating programs that organized the stuff that I had already taught and put it into packages based on certain skill sets, and I was able to sell it. Right? Simple as that. Not chat GPT, but AI nowadays could have organized that stuff, maybe, if I trained it properly, better and more effectively than I did. It wasn't out that back then, but it's out now. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is part 2 of our 2-part mini-series, AI is your employee, not your boss. Number 4, you are still required to think, interpret, discern, and decide what to do after receiving feedback from your help, such as AI. Do not think that whatever it told you, you should just go off of that, because then you become an employee, not a boss. Number 5, many people falsely believe that the emergence of AI means that you will not have to think or do as much because AI does the work for you. You can think that if you want to, but you're going to be replaced. Now, as soon as the AI realizes that it knows more than you do and it thinks more than you do, it will replace you. And I mean that in a kind of metaphorical sense, but people who run the AI are going to notice that and they're going to start replacing you. Number 6, if you put yourself in a position where AI can work completely independent of you and you are rendered effectively unnecessary in that aspect, that is good if you have other skills that complement or that are complemented by what the AI can do. It is bad if you don't have other skills that are complemented by what the AI can do. So this one could be good or bad depending on who you are and depending on how you're using it or how it is using you. All that said, everybody, I just told you about my Dre GPT chatbot. We may have already turned this into a paid access, but the paid access will be cheap enough that all of you can afford it, and it will be worth it, more than 10 times worth whatever we're charging. Go to dreallday.com/AI, or it might be workonyourgame.com/AI. Try both. If one isn't working, go to the other one. It'll probably be both of them. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to have me as your direct coach? Someone was asking me today in my live streaming, how do I get into high ticket coaching? And I answered the question, and you want to get into it? Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. I will show you how. I will tell you exact steps to take. We'll look at what you have, what you're offering, who you want to serve, and lay out an entire strategy, and I will coach you along the way of implementing all of it. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all